Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Respected Professor Pal, respected faculty members, my dear student and colleagues and alumni and the other participant. So it is my proud privilege to welcome you all in this seminar on the artificial intelligence in manufacturing on the auspicious day, because today is the engineers day. So on behalf of NIT Durgapur family, I wish you all a happy engineers day, and we are extremely honored to have with us Professor S.K. Pal of IIT Kharagpur, who will enlighten us in the on the topics artificial intelligence in advanced manufacturing in the era of Industry 4.0. And without wasting time, I request Debulina to formally introduce to Professor S.K. Pal to the participant. Thank you. Debulina, please.
A very good evening to one and all. We at SciCell NIT Durgapur are proud to conduct a much awaited session on artificial intelligence in advanced manufacturing by Dr. Surya Kanta Pal, Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Kharagpur. Professor S.K. Pal received his PhD degree in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Kharagpur and postdoc from University of Sheffield, UK. He is currently working as a Lord Kumar Bhattacharya Chair Professor in Manufacturing in the Department of Mechanical Engineering and Associate Dean of Alumni Affairs at IIT Kharagpur. He is also the chairperson in Department of Heavy Industry, Government of India sponsored Center of Excellence in Advanced Manufacturing Technology. Professor Pal has published more than 160 research papers in international journals, as well as 15 international book chapters, and has filed more than 10 patents in the area of system development in advanced manufacturing. Currently, he is executing a number of prestigious research projects to the tune of around 85 crores, sponsored by reputed industries and government agencies like DST and DHI. His current research interests include friction stir welding and processing, AI in advanced manufacturing, Industry 4.0, digital twin, modeling and simulation of manufacturing process, ultra-fast cooling methodologies for metal strips in rolling process. We now request you, sir, to please commence the session.
Let me share the slide. Can you see my slide? Just one of you.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Good. Yeah. First of all, thank the NIT Durgapur for inviting me to deliver my concept on the how do I look the artificial intelligence in the field of manufacturing. And as Professor Roy has mentioned that today is the Engineers Day, so I wish you all a very happy Engineers Day. And so let us go into the discussion. You know, this artificial intelligence for manufacturing. Uh, the presentation I prepared the slides, very lucid way with the hope that this most of the participants are the students. So, it's very lucid way I have prepared the slide, and in more, you may find that a lot of concepts are already known. In fact, the concepts are very, very much known to us. We are all aware of these concepts and all. Thing is that how these concepts can be leveraged into the field of manufacturing. So that's the concern. So I'll talk about the little bit of the journey of the manufacturing, how the manufacturing process has got evolved. Then you will appreciate that how much need of what is the AI and how much need of AI is there. And from there, I'll give you a concept called the cognitive manufacturing. That means how much AI is efficient today or capable in solving the real world manufacturing problems. Do I need to do something else beyond artificial intelligence or not? So that comes under the concept of the cognitive intelligence. So I'll give you a very brief idea about that. And I'll also discuss about the Deblina has mentioned that the Center of Excellence in Advanced Manufacturing Technology, DHI sponsored. Yes, it is DHI sponsored, and it is an ecosystem between the the industry and the academia. We do have large number of the industries present in the Center of Excellence doing project with us. So I'll also introduce the Center of Excellence in Advanced Manufacturing Technology and what are the research activities. And I'll also, when I'll describe about the AIML, the importance of AIML in manufacturing, I'll also talk about the some of the use cases so that you can find it. You can, some of you have already doing some projects, on AIML algorithms or the concepts. You'll also find that how those concepts can be implemented in the manufacturing domain. So, briefly, this should be just to create an awareness of AIML for manufacturing. Now let us look into the manufacturing, the journey. So the manufacturing started long back in the prehistoric era, in the era of the Stone Age. At that time, people used to use the stone as the cutting tool. So the stone was used for the different purposes. So they got the idea what should be the shape of the stone, how that stone can be used for the different purposes and all. So during that period, the people, they used as this stone as the cutting tool. Then they found that the stone is not, the efficient or it is not serving the purpose. So they thought of the metal to use in the for the daily, the sustenance purpose. So whether it could be harvesting, whether it could be for the hunting, and you see that in the the Bronze Age era, basically that's the concept of the alloying. So that means they thought that the single, the just pure copper cannot give the proper strength. So they thought of alloying tin with the copper and came up with the bronze, and that bronze can it could be used for the different purposes and all. Then they again thought that the bronze is also not sufficient. We need to go for the some other material, and with the the having the iron in plenty in the mother earth, they thought of using the iron as the material which could be used for the cutting tool. And if you look into this, each of these era, you'll find that the geometry of the cutting tool or the material has also got progressed. And I would say that the concept of the cut, the rake angle, when you all know that when the cutting tool is used for the removing material removal purpose, the tool has to have a certain geometry. So those geometries are also a little bit, the concept was there in that era itself. Then the age or the era, which is the machine age. The different types of motion, different the directions of the motions can it was achieved through in the era of the machine age itself. Then the people thought that how even if we have the mechanisms, how to run those mechanisms, what should be the power, and so with that the advent of the steam, the industry 1.0 came up. Then with the use of the electricity in the manufacturing shop floor, industry 2.0, and then followed by industry 3.0, and the industry 4.0 came up. Let's quickly look into this. What is industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0? As I mentioned that when the steam got used in giving power to the mechanisms, then people started using the manufacturing was a bit more easier as compared to the machine age. But the steam has got its own problem. Like the steam cannot be transported from one location to the other location. It's very difficult. So that's why the manufacturing concept was very much localized. Then with the advent or with the use of this electric energy, so electricity can be transported from one location to the other location. The same type of job can be produced at the different location. That means a company can have one unit at the Durgapur, another unit the company can have at Kharagpur, and then simultaneously the same type of jobs can be produced by the supply of the electricity. So the mass production was very much useful in the era of Industry 2.0. And Industry 3.0, we find that a lot of usage of the computer, a lot of usage of the robots. So the automation was very much there in the Industry 3.0. But the problem was that even though the automation was there, robot was there, computer was there, but still it didn't flourish much because the cost of the computer was very high. The robot was also highly programmed and cost of the robot was also very high. So that's why, this automation didn't flourish the way, the people wanted to have. Now today, from 2014 and onwards, we are standing on at the era of Industry 4.0, which is called the fourth industrial revolution. And this fourth industrial revolution is bringing a real boon in the manufacturing sector. It is bringing boon to all the sectors, specifically for the manufacturing sector, because we do have the connectivity between the cyber and the physical systems. In a manufacturing, the organization will have, in the shop floor, we'll have a lot of physical systems, how each and every physical system work, how they are connected. So through the internet, and also because today we all know that the internet cost has come down, the data cost has come down, the cost of the computer has also come down, and the robots are also, because of these, robots are also becoming very much popular in the industries and all. So because of all these attributes, the fourth industrial revolution is giving some sort of a hope to make a complete transformation in the field of the manufacturing. So the productivity is increasing, labor cost, labor usage is going down, and the cost of the product is also going down as we move from the Industry 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0 to 4.0. So as I mentioned that the productivity increases, labor use is coming down, whether it's a good or bad, that can be discussed and debated later. And the cost of the production is also, the going down. Now let us quickly look, since it's a manufacturing, and I understand that large number of participant students are in the field of the mechanical and the manufacturing, and it doesn't matter even if you are not in the manufacturing. These examples are very very much lucid. One can very easily perceive and understand. You see if you look into this food-driven the machining operation. So that means when the mechanisms was powered by the human labor. So it was powered by the human foot, and then because of this simple mechanisms, you can rotate that job, you can move the cutting tool over the job, and you can remove that the excess material to give a definite shape. But it was purely the human powered and purely the human labor. So that means that it was giving some advantages over the completely from the previous era, but it was also having some difficulties. Like if you want to the machine a heavy material, then it's not possible. It was it was posing difficulty and all. So metal cutting was not possible because you need to exert more force, and the accuracy of the product, if you go for the repeatability or the same type of products if you want to produce, that was also very difficult by using this mechanism. Then the steam used, because of the steam, we can rotate the job much faster. That means you can remove the more and more material. Productivity got increased. But again, at this stage also, so it was very difficult to arrange or produce the complex geometry, because the removal of the excess material from the blank is purely governed by the human labor. Then in the electricity, so electricity, as I mentioned, the easy transportation, so the productivity increases, but it was not fully automated. So again, the human labor was very much the needed, that what should be the tool movement, how much depth the tool has to have to remove that excess material. All these things are the influence of the governed by the human labor. So then the concept of the NC or the CNC, numerical control, or the computerized numerical control that came up. So that means now the repeatability is giving this concept gave a lot of the hope towards the repeatability, because the executions of the the operations, what how the tool should move, what should be its speed, how the job should rotate. All these things can be, are done, through programming. So before you execute the job, you can do the programming. You can also visualize that what sort of job is going to get, the produced. So the repeatability was a, which was a very much concern previously. So now that got solved. So that means productivity also, the increases. But today, even having so many ancient CNC machine, so it is not, the fully autonomous. Even doing this multiple types of the job at the same time is also, becoming very, very difficult. So we need to understand that when a job is going to get produced, we have to acquire the information out of that system. Like what is the condition of the cutting tool, what is the, the surface roughness it is producing and all. So constantly you have to acquire information out of that system. And today we are standing at the era like the industry 4.0, where large number of sensors can be integrated onto the system. When I talk about the system, I also include the machine, and it also includes the the process that it is executing. That means what is the surface roughness, what is the condition of the cutting tool, how much vibration we are experiencing because of a new process parameter, what is the power consumptions. So lots of the information you are going to get. When you are having too many informations and all, that means you are going to have more and better insight about the problem. When you can have better insight, then you can do the optimization and make the proper utilizations of the the machine or the system. You get to know that how the system is behaving, how the machine is behaving, and accordingly you can predict what would be its remaining useful life. So every stage that we have just now discussed, from the Stone Age to Bronze Age to Iron Age to Machine Age to Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, every stage, the concern was that to increase the productivity, to have the more accuracy and precision, and consistency in the quality and the low production cost. Because manufacturing, the concern is that the product has to be cheaper, the process has to be faster, and the product has to be better. Unless you have these three attributes of the qualities, even though you are a smart innovator, you will not survive in the manufacturing domain. You think of your purchase day to day, your purchase the Amazon or the Flipkart, or let's say somewhere, even if you go for even purchasing the vegetables and all, always we check that whether this particular item is cheaper than the previous shop or not, whether this product is better or not, what I'm getting at the cheaper price. Can I get this product at a faster rate? Like I don't need to wait for a long time. I do have some other jobs. So all these, these questions do come into the minds of the user or the client, and manufacturing is very much concerned in answering these three, the questions. So that's why the fourth, the revolution is giving us a hope that because of the attributes of the modules of the Industry 4.0, we can have a better day tomorrow. So a lot of the modules are there. I'm not going to discuss all of these modules, and I'm pretty sure that you have heard most of the terms like the cloud computing, cyber physical system, big data, simulation, Internet of Things, augmented reality, robotics, additive manufacturing, cyber security, and system integration. Here the 10 modules are there. People claim that there are 9 modules. So some of the modules are splitted over here. Some of the people comment that the Industry 4.0 is a flashy catchword. I don't think in that way. If you are really be able to implement these concepts in the manufacturing domain, you will be having complete see-through understanding about the system. Once you have the complete understanding of the system, as I mentioned previously, that you can have the products smarter. That means something is going to happen onto this product. Something is happening in the market. If the market demand changes, how can I quickly adapt myself to produce the other job and to meet up the the market demand? So the robot is the very much needed for this automation. If you look into the the usage of the labor, it is a very high flexibility. That means if unforeseen situation comes up, human brain is the supreme. So human behavior and the brain, So that can solve this unforeseen situation, but it has got the limited productivity. Then people thought of using the completely, if you think in terms of the completely changing the human labor by the robots, you can have the higher productivity, but it will be having the limited flexibility, because today the robot is not capable in tackling the unforeseen situation. It can give you they can identify which is the best solution, but if something happens during executing that solution or during executing a particular algorithm, it is very difficult to apply the human the cognizance. So that's why the people are thinking that we must use the robot, but the robot should be used in conjunction with the human the labor or the operator. So in this way, the flexibility will come from the human mind, and the productivity will come from the repeated the usage or the the working for untiring working for by the robots for a longer time. So we must, as I mentioned, that if you look into this, the manual operation, as I mentioned, less productivity, higher rejection, and human involved. And if you think for the industrial robot, high productivity but no intelligence. It is very much programmed, so it will execute that program repeatedly in a nice way. But if something happens, then it doesn't know how it should solve. So no human involvement. If human intervention is there, the interproduction will be stopped. So the balance is that flexible mode, where, as I mentioned, that the presence of the human being should be there along with the robotic use. That means robots should work in conjunction with the human being. In that way, it will give you the true sense is that the collaboration. Now, people also talk about the collaboration, robot to robot collaboration and robot to human collaboration and all. So for all these collaboration, we must understand that how the collaboration would be, whether the collaboration would be in the form of a coexistence, like both the human and the robot would be sharing they will work in the same workspace, but they will not interact. I'm giving an example. These examples I have also given in the same course. It's a course on AI for manufacturing at IIT Kharagpur. So think of a relation between a supervisor and a scholar, doctoral scholar. So if a scholar is there in the lab working, supervisor is there, scholar doesn't interact with the supervisor. In fact, the supervisor also doesn't know what the scholar is doing. So they are working in the same lab, but they are not interacting. So this is a coexistence. Now, scholar somehow is afraid of the supervisor. A supervisor also doesn't like that scholar. So the time when supervisor is going, scholar is not there. When scholar is going, supervisor is not there. So that is called the synchronization. They are working in the same environment, but at the different time, the time frame. Ideal scholar and student, the faculty relationship is that if it is having a true collaboration, that means both the scholar and the supervisor are working together at the same time, at the same space, sharing that knowledge and sharing their duties and the work. Okay, but the do not compare who is the robot and who is the human being in this case with the scholar and the faculty relation that I mentioned. So similarly the human and the robot, the collaboration is very much the needed in today's manufacturing, and because the robot has to know that what is the behavior of the human being during the operation, because human applies its cognizance. Human doesn't work in a programmed way, because human has to tackle the unforeseen situation. The relation between two robots collaboration is more or less the programmed. But when the human being is coming into the picture, then if unforeseen situation comes up, human changes its behavior. So robot has to understand the behavior of the human being. So the collaboration, human-robot collaboration is very, very critical. But if we can solve these, the problems, then there will be a lot of advantages in the manufacturing, the domain. I'm giving you some example. You all know, you have seen in the YouTube, here and there movies and all. So some of the examples, the autonomous robotic collaboration, excuse me, you can see that, for different applications, what is the usage of the image processing, what is the usage of the different, the machine learning or the deep learning algorithms, how the two systems can work together, how they can solve the unforeseen situation and all. Another concept is coming up. It's not coming up. It is very much there in the in the era of the Industry 4.0, when we are having so much of the implementation of the IoT, the Internet of Things, and when it is used, that means the different types of the commodities are connected to the internet, sharing the data. We call it as the Industrial Internet of Things, IIoT. And we also use the concept of the big data, concept of the cloud computing, simulations, and everything. Then why can't we create a twin of the system? That means, can we not create the exact replica of the physical systems? We all know in case of the biological twins, when a fertilized egg splits into two cells and they are having the same DNA code. That means they are they are not only looking same, their characteristics are also same. There are lots of examples in the the identical twins and all. The question is that coming up in the manufacturing domain is that, can we create the identical twins of the physical system, which we can call it as the digital twin, which will have the same characteristics? That means if we do have a real space, that is a physical asset, it could be a machine, it could be a, let's say, the component, it could be a shop floor where the machine, not only the machine, along with the machine, we do have the presence of the human being. Constantly, if we can acquire the data and create a virtual model could be in the different forms. It could be data-driven model. It could be, let's say, the physics-based model. It could be also the the combination of both the data and the physics-based model, which you can call as the hybrid model. So the constant acquisition of the data from the physical systems and developing an AI/ML model for the prediction of the system's behavior. It is, here is giving an example of a twin of a motor. We do have a physical systems. We have created a virtual, the motor. It not only looks the same, looks like the physical motor, the functionality is also portrayed. That means inside the motor, there are several components, and how the components, do operate when the process parameters are changed. Every phenomena is getting portrayed or let's say the predicted in the virtual model. In that case, what will happen is that you can come up with some unforeseen situation. Let's say that if I want to, the motor was running on 1800 RPM, and if I would like to run the motor at 3000 RPM, let me see how much is the temperature getting generated inside the motor, how much vibration it is producing, how much, let's say, whether the bearings are okay or not. I cannot do it on the physical system, because if I do it, it may fail. If it fails, then that means that will be a breakdown in the system. So that means if I want to optimize the process, I need to do a lot of experimentation on the physical systems, which is very, very costly, and sometimes it brings catastrophe into the system. So if I can create a absolute identical virtual representation of the physical system, then I can get the behavior of the physical systems in the real time, and that is called the digital twin. So that digital twin works, on not only on the real-time data, that is the present data, it also works on the the past data, historic data, and then based having the combination of the historic information and the present day status, the machine can be machine performance can be predicted for the future. So the actual definition, if you look given by the the NASA, if you look into this, it's very, very critical. And if you can satisfy each and every bulleted terms and the colored terms over there, then you'll get the identical twin, identical replica. Digital twin is an integrated. That means every moment there should be having a connectivity between the physical and the virtual spaces. It should capture the multi-physics. So it will be having, when I talk about the motor cannot, the sensor cannot capture all the information from the motor. I can capture the temperature from a certain point. I can capture the vibration from a certain point, but I do not know what is the change of the electromagnetic phenomena happening because of the change of the current. It's very difficult to find out what is the temperature getting generated inside the bearing. So the physics-based model has to be developed. That means simulation has to be developed in conjunction with the real-time data that we are acquiring. Sometimes the physics-based model should include the real-time data which is getting acquired to the sensor. So this multi-physics concept can also be the capture. It not only the heat temperature, not only the electromagnetic phenomena, sometimes because of the temperature, because of the environmental condition, what is the corrosion happening inside the different parts of the motor. And it can also be at the different, the scales. So having all these, the bulleted questions, the answered, you can have a very good simulation of the physical system, which will then be able to predict the remaining useful life of the motor. So I'm giving an example of the digital twin for the CNC machine. Let's say if you do have a physical system, like there I have engaged different types of the sensors, force, speed, position, the temperature, vibration, and the current. We can have these sensors engaged at different locations. We can have some information. You can also develop the ML models. You can predict the job quality based on this. You can predict what is the condition of the cutting tool. But it's very difficult to predict what is the, the wear model inside the, the gears inside the motors. It's very difficult to predict how much, heat is getting generated at the different, the components, how much vibration is getting generated at the individual level, because the placing the vibration sensor at different locations is not a easy job. Sometimes it is not possible as well. You can have the overall gross vibration, but checking the vibration at each and every point is very, very difficult. You can also, what is the state of the motor, that can be, the well identified or the simulated if we are having both the data-driven model and then physics-based model. So the benefits of the digital twin is that it is constantly monitoring the physical system. So it is monitoring the physical systems, and based on the data you are evaluating, you are doing the optimizations of the process parameter. Based on these three important features, you can also do the risk management. So that I have given an example that if a motor is, scheduled to run only at 1800 RPM, what would be the fate of the motor if I make it run at 3000 RPM? So whether some, the problem would be there or not. So those things can be very easily identified or deciphered if I develop a digital twin model and all. And on top of that, you can give a training. So that's why the digital twin of the physical system, if you would like to give a training on the CNC machine, you create a digital twin and give it the training, to the person who are sitting at a remote place. That means if I can create a proper digital twin at IIT Kharagpur on the CNC machine, and the students, you all can, have the performance of the CNC machine itself and what type of job it is producing sitting at Durgapur. So if you analyze and apply your common sense onto these 3 points, monitoring, evaluation, optimization, then you'll get to know that you are going to have a proper judgment of the equipment. So like what was my health condition previously, what is my health condition today? If we know all the prehistoric data, historic data, and the today present data, you get to know that how at least you will have the idea what would be my health condition tomorrow. So productivity can also be improved. You can reduce the risk and all. So maintenance cost can also be the reduced, because the breakdown phenomena you can also predict. So a lot of advantages are there by developing the digital twin, which is nothing but I would say the inclusive, the approach of the modules of inclusion of the different modules of the industry 4.0 in one single platform. So the another aspects of the cloud, cloud computing of the industry 4.0 there, because the large number of, as I mentioned, the sensors are the used onto the machine, on a single machine. But think of that, you'd like to have the complete picture of the shop floor. The different types of the machines are there. Performance of the one machine, the influence the activity of the next machine. So that means data has to be transferred from the one machine to the other machine. Not only the machine, as I mentioned, that the other utilities of other units should be there. The human being presence of the operator will also be there. How do the operators interact? So the collecting information from the different locations is very much needed. So it's a huge volume of the data, and you need to process the data in the real time. So you have to keep on, harping on the cloud computing concept, or the fog computing concept, or the edge computing the concept. We have done some the case studies on edge computing and then cloud computing as well. As I mentioned, that the large number of data is coming up, so and of course the data are not the same type. That means some of the sensors data, some are the structured data, some of the the optical images, unstructured data. Some data would be in the form of an email, some data would be form of a PDF. So different the types of data, different volumes of the data, different the speed the data is coming across the operator, coming to the the machine, and on top of that, what is the authenticity of the data? So that means uncertainty of the data. So these 4 V's do play an important role in the manufacturing, in the industry 4.0 when you tackle the manufacturing, the aspects. I'm giving the big data concept in a very the simple way, but here the big data concept is based on the 2 V's. One is the structured data, another is the unstructured data. So we do have an FSW machine. FSW stands for the friction stir welding. Forget about that. It's just a machine. So we do have some internal sensors. That means sensors are already integrated into the systems. Some external sensors. That means we have engaged some other sensors to acquire some more information. So the force, torque, power, spindle, the power, then RPM, lots of informations are, the captured. And so these are all sensor based. So they are coming at a different, even the different sensors are having the different, the different cards are having the different sampling rate. So the how those things can be synchronized and placed in the the common platform. And again, the problem becomes the problem is more complex if we engage the different format of the data. That means that here it is the structured data, which is your sensors data, and is the thermal imager, which is .jpeg format or some other format. So the how to the combine or the fuse the Excel formatted data and then the image formatted data together to decipher the information out of the process, so that it can be made useful the insight about the process itself. Again, I've mentioned that the different types of the sensors are needed, the soft sensors and the hard sensors. The sensors that I've mentioned, like the force, torque, power, the speed, these are all giving you the direct information from the system itself. So they are hard sensors, and at the same time, the hard sensors are not sufficient enough. So you need to do simulations. So the simulation model will give you the soft sensing. So how to come up with the hybrid knowledge to have the proper understanding, and so that you can make the reasoning, which is very crucial, because the reasoning is lacking today in the artificial intelligence model, and that's why people are thinking for the cognitive approaches and all. So we did some work on the hybrid model of the digital twin, which is based on the sensors data as well as the simulation data. So real-time sensors data are collected, process is also simulated. So we know the stress strain at each and every point during the inside the material during the during the execution of the work. At the same time, we know how much is the overall force variance and how much is the power consumption. So the simulation model and then sensing model are they club together to give you the hybrid knowledge base, and that knowledge base is used for the prediction purpose with the usage of the different types of the AI/ML DL models. This we have done it with the Tata Consultancy Services and about to be filed as a patent. Now, when you talk about the automation today, where we stand and what we need, if we find that we are really lacking the intelligence, the system that we have so far, the robots in the industry 3.0, they were highly, they programmed. So that means it can execute the same operation repeatedly by the use of the PLC and the few sensors and all. But if it doesn't know that if any failure comes up, how the entire shop floor activity can be optimized. So here is the real the concern, and that's why I call that the today's the automation, it really lack the intelligence level. So in order to make the system the intelligent, so the constantly the data has to be the acquired and analyzed and processed and predicted. I'm giving an example like the a robot is the working to pick up a job from one place, and it is it is scheduled to place the job in the other other location. But if some obstacles they come up dynamically, then how are you going to solve that? How the robot should they find out the different possible paths and finally it reaches to the the destination. We have done some work on this aspect, dynamic obstacle avoidance. It has been successfully the simulated, finding the different paths, the possible paths, and from there coming up with the shortest path, and reach to the destination and all. But if you look into the present days, the artificial intelligence, and if you look into the human intelligence, the human being, we do have the different sensors. We are getting the information through the sensors, and then those sensors, the information collected, informations are processed in the brain, and that's why we can they encounter the unforeseen situation. But if we think for the today's the AI model, we are also having the sensors. We are engaging the different types of the sensors, capturing the information, developing the the AI model, trying to mimic the human brain, but still we are unable to tackle the unforeseen situation. What does it mean? We mean that the model which we are developing over here, the artificial intelligence model, the models are not able to capture the complete behavior of the human being. So in an completely new situation, how the human the human being will operate, or human will work, or what sort of reasoning the human being will be able to gauge, and so that is not possible today by the AI method. I'll give you an example. Like if there is a party going on and a lot of kids are there, and the cake cutting is going on, and all the kids are wearing the caps, the balloons are there, everything is there. It's just like it's a birthday party and all. So if you process that image by the AI and all, you'll get to know that there is a cake. What is the dimension of the cake? The how many kids are there, how many boys, how many girls, how many are wearing caps, and all these things. But AI fails to understand, fails to give you some idea what was the discussion going on between one boy and the girl standing over there. Human being can at least guess that what could be the topic of discussion in the minds of the kids standing over there. So that sort of reasoning is the lacking in today's the artificial intelligence model. I'm not going into this the manufacturing model itself, because already this has been explained. So the need of, even though whatever is there with us, the artificial intelligence, that can be very easily deployed in different manufacturing domains. We searched a lot our Center of Excellence. We do have a large number of doctoral scholars and a lot of interns from the different institutes, even from here in NIT Durgapur, someone is there. So we identify the different types of the industrial problems, and we see that how those problems can be solved. We are not the developer of the AI/ML models. We just make use of the AI/ML models, make a little bit of changes in the algorithms, but we'd like to make use of those algorithms in an effective way so that we can reach to the industry. That's the purpose of our Center of Excellence. So we found that the AI can be very easily implemented in the quality inspections, machine vision systems. If it can be used for the predictive maintenance, it can also be used for the coming up with the possible design of your product. If you have designed a product, whether that could be an alternative design, that means you can generate the design. You can create the complete digital replica of the physical system. That means you can create the the digital twins, and also you can make the robot autonomous, putting the little bit of the cognizance into the robotic behavior. If you look into this this particular slide, you'll get to see that how much we are able to mimic the human behavior or the human the attributes of the human brain. We are able to we can do our present day AI can do the speech recognition. That means the listening and identifying the words, and then let's say that make a processing on that. That is possible as of now by today the AI models. We can also gauge that what is the handwriting, what has been written and all. So natural language NLP has also been very much useful. We can also find out that the human ability to see and analyze. I do not know that how much analysis is possible apart from those are very gross, the information out of the which is very much the visible on the images. That much analysis we can come up. That means if we are giving two look-alike product almost the same, but you can identify they are look-alike, but there is a slight difference between the dimension of these two products. So we are presently working on such problems of the Tata Motors and all. It's very interesting that all dimensions, everything is same, but there is a subtle difference. So you need to identify that what is that the region, and focus on to that region, apply the AI model, and then find out how much is the difference. So we have done it somewhat. So through computer vision, it can we can do this. We can also do the dynamic movement of the the human being, robotic application and all. Lot of different the AIML models have come up mimicking the human activities of the human the brain. So I'm giving an example, some of the machine vision applications in the manufacturing. You see that the printed in case of the PCB, printed circuit board, lot of components are there. If some component is failing, like the soldering is not properly done, or some component is the not properly placed, or the required the element has not been placed on at the proper designated place and all, then it's very difficult for the human being to judge. But if you have got the template, you can apply the image vision, the machine vision, the concepts, and applying deep learning methods or the ML methods, you can find out and locate that error. So one of the the students of NIT Trichy working with us, he has done this, developed this model. Another model which I'm going to present is the Sukriti. Sukriti is your the friends at NIT Durgapur. She is working on us like how to identify the fuse box in the automobile car. Each and every car has got a definite the fuse box. So from the fuse box, can I identify that which car it is? Can I identify what sort of the fuses are in the place? How many fuses are there? Whether the proper fuse has been placed at the proper location and all. So she has worked since March with us and working on the different deep learning methods and come up with 100%. I'm told that today I came to know that the accuracy is 100% by using the YOLO model. So that means now this model can be very easily deployable for the automobile industry. So now we'll reach to the industries. So she is also preparing the proper graphical user interface so that the industry people can use the demo version. Lot of other the features can be very easily identified during the assembly operation. Now whatever still whatever is there is fine, we should be happy with that. But still I would say that today's scenario is that it's very much weak. The artificial intelligence is very much weak. If you look into this the computer the games, the AlphaGo. So AlphaGo it's a board game. So the AlphaGo is a computer program. That means it has been made by the human being. Now it can defeat the human being. The higher version is the AlphaZero. AlphaZero does have the the different types of the board games. It has got the chess, it has got the shogi, it has also got the board game. So that means these board games, the AlphaZero is also very much efficient, but it is still that can tackle the problem, tackle the very narrow defined problem. That means it is very much specific to solve, the expert to solve that specific problem. It is not the able to understand about the other, the board games and all. So that's why we call it as today's scenario is that it's a weak AI. Why weak AI is why the human intelligence can do much better than the artificial intelligence. If you look into this human brain, that it has got the different portions has got the different functionalities. So even if you look in the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the brainstem and all, so all points are, the all attributes, all the activities are, the listed over here. Even the cerebrum, if you look into that, it has got the different regions: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Each and every region has got the different activities. Now, human being has got the large number of, neurons, and each and every neuron is connected to the other neurons and all. So a lot of connectivities are there. That means sharing the information and parallel processing is very much possible in the minds of the human brain. So the frontal lobe can interact with the operations of the parietal lobe and the temporal lobe and the occipital lobe, and get to know a very good model which can tackle the unforeseen situations. If you look at this, is also very interesting. If I just got to know, I was reading one paper on the brain science and AI, and then I found that this information will be useful. That's why I copied from there. You see that we are the neuroscience people. The neuroscience and computer science and the cognitive, the domain, they should work, they very much together. Human behavior, human brain, and the developer, algorithm developer. The computer science must work with the cognitive science people, must work with the neuroscience people, so that then the models which should be developed, that model we, the people in the manufacturing, hardcore manufacturing people, can deploy into our the various domains. Then only we can dream of the building a machine which can think like the human being. So if the brain's different regions, if you can examine, so people have examined by using the microscope, so that gave you the neural connectivity. Then artificial neural network model developed by the computer science people, and then that artificial neural network model, today we are using it for various types of process monitoring. You can use the electronic detector. The convolution architecture, deep architecture is revealed now. So CNN has been developed, mimicking the architecture, convolution architecture of or deep architecture of the human the brain, and that is having a strong presence in the image analysis or the quality assurance. Similarly, the other investigating methods are revealing the different activities of the human brain, and immediately the computer science people are developing following that the activity of the human brain. But till today we have just deciphered the activity of in very limited number of the activities of the human brain. That's why we are unable to reach to we are unable to build a machine which can think like a human being. So a lot of things have to be, the explorations have to be made on on the brain structure. So we have just revealed a tiny part of the brain. So that's why if we can have the complete understanding, so that involving the cognitive features like the consciousness, like the sentience, emotion. So if you can club both the mind, that is the behavior, and also the brain, its computational aspects, both the things, if you can merge together, then there is a hope of building a machine behaving like a human being. So the present scenario is that the AI-based object recognition and material handling is very much the possible, but we are not very much the smart as of now today to handle the collaborative aspects of the job. Machine health prediction is possible, but the self-learning is not there. If something is happening, machine is unable to learn out of that system. So the optimization, toolpath optimization, all these things are possible, but a lot of miles we need to travel, so far, I mean, in future, so that we can do something, towards the cognitive intelligence. I'll give you some examples of the AI in manufacturing, quickly browse through, so that it will give you some idea, because these are the application cases we have, the search after, the tremendous survey. We identified each and every, the domain of the manufacturing, starting from the casting, forming, machining, welding, additive manufacturing, and overall complete manufacturing feature, the features, which is the supply chain. And every place we find there is a tremendous use of the scope of AI in machining. You can monitor the real-time state of the cutting tool, because if you can monitor the health of the cutting tool, then you can ensure the job quality. So a lot of things. You can monitor also the health of the gears. If the gears are, the missing, if there is no missing teeth between the two mating gears, then you can ensure the smooth turn, the power transmissions and all. So a lot of surface roughness of the product can also be identified. You can, the cast product, the defect in the cast product can be very easily identified by using the image processing and all. During the casting process itself, how the solidification is going, taking place. So from that, the aspects, if you can identify the solidification process, the mimic the solidification process properly, then you can optimize the process parameter in real time to get rid of the defect. We have done some work, similar work in the field of the welding, real time, the defect control. I'll also show that one. Similarly, the AI in the forming, lot of defects we do observe. The steel rolling, the rolling, the mill, so how the, the product is deformed by the counter rotating rollers, and so, whether there is an elastic deformation taking place on the roller or not. If the deformation takes place, then the job quality will not be properly ensured. Now, if a product is, the handle by the two, how material handling, the concepts can also be very easily solved by the collaborative robots and all. So a lot of applications are there in the field of the forming. Similarly, for the welding, you can find out the defect. You can also find out because the seam tracking is a real concern for any industry, because when the welding is getting done, there is a huge arc takes place, and it's very difficult for the operator to check that what is the weld line or what is the proper, the seam. So if AI can be engaged, the proper image processing can be done so that the intensity of the arc can be reduced, and then human operator can see that, the weld line properly, then it will be the welding can be done in a nice way. Because as of now, the operator, most of the cases, recently I visited one organization where its job is purely on the welding, cutting and welding, and there is no automation. Every welding is getting done by the operator. How do they, and it is a MIG welding process, mostly the MIG welding process. How do they solve? If they are solving purely by the muscle memory. Muscle memory means that you are not looking onto this line, your hand movement, the way, it has been done for the several times, even for the months together and all. So the hand moves in the same path. Just like, when you type, we don't these days, we don't look into the the keyboard. Our finger automatically goes onto the proper place. That's called the muscle memory. So that means the movement is purely by the movement itself, the memory of the movement of the limb, the welding is getting done. But it may happen that sometimes that may create problems, during welding. So that's why the industries, their concern is that how can I see the weld line properly during the welding process. Now, since the lot of hope is there on the AIML, and the people have also started working that how the human thoughts can be leveraged into the the process itself. So whatever is data is coming up, you can develop the AI model, but to make it more cognizant, the more cognitive, if I can capture also the human thought process, and that thought process can be leveraged into the data model and then make the model more cognitive. So we are working on the EEG signal. So during a welding process or during any other material handling process, Operator checks the process, what is the quality going on, and what sort of job the robot is picking up in case of the material handling, whether it's a rectangular job or cylindrical job. And then correspondingly, when the operator is seeing it's a rectangular job, what is the thoughts going on, in the operator's mind? What, how come the two different EEG signal depicting the two different, the phenomena? One in case of the rectangular, another one in case of the cylindrical job. If I can, through signal processing, if I can find out a proper feature out of those two EEG signal and feed into the AI model, then that can be very easily integrated with the robotic systems, and we can make the systems more cognitive. So the additive manufacturing, I'm not going into the other areas of the manufacturing. So any manufacturing process, be it casting, forming, additive manufacturing, even also there are supply chain. So lot of scope is there in the of AI implementation. I would stress rather a little bit on the the supply chain, because in case of when you talk about the supply chain, that means starting from the inventory to the exit, even not the exit from the shop floor, it is less at the customer's the hand. All informations you can the capture. How much storage do you have? How much inventory do you have? Do you have the proper inventory to tackle this the present operation? If all on a sudden some demand is coming up, whether your inventory would be sufficient or not. If one process fails, then how the information can be transmitted to the next process, how the entire activity process flow can be optimized because of the failure of one the one end. So all these the optimizations can be made very easily through the artificial intelligence, starting from the product design to the customer's end. Some use cases we would like to show, because we are working for a long time for the last for different aspects of the manufacturing, and the present day people and not only we, throughout the globe, large number of researchers are working, and presently today it is called the artificial intelligence, machine learning, the deep learning and all. But 2004 era, so before that, when people used to work at that time, it was named as the soft computing. Now, because of the advent of the different, the activities, portraying of the different activities of the brain, more specifically for the deep learning algorithms like the CNN and others, so people are able to decipher more about that system. And on top of that, previously the computer was not very much accessible, computing power. It was very costly. So we could not solve, even though you do have a large number of data, large, the structure, neural network structure, but you cannot solve. You do have large number of hidden layers. Backpropagation neural network was there for long back. It was a supervised learning method, and most of the, the methods are the supervised learning. So today we are solving, but that previously we could not solve. So that's why the process was restricted for the simpler prediction, but the concept was very much there. That's why I call it as a, old wine in a new bottle. So, in case of the quality inspections, we have done this work in the 2008, the when a welding is getting done. So from the sound itself, you get to know what sort of product it is, executing or the doing. Like if you have a just computer microphone, we engage the computer microphone, and we did the experiments in the midnight, switching off the fan and everything, so that suppressing the environmental noise, and capture that information sound of the arcing process. Because arcing sound gives you the information about how the metal transfer takes place from the electrode onto the joining line. Whether it's a globular form or spatter form, or let's say the gauze, the metal transfer. So those informations will give you the what is the quality of the weld. So we captured the weld sound, did the signal processing. It's a pure time domain analysis. Kurtosis feature gave us the clear indication how much is the blowhole and where are the blowholes are there, where is the more deposition that took place. But all these the algorithms and all, we could not give the feedback passed to the the machine. So it was an offline analysis. Even the analysis was so strong that you can find out how much is the grain size for different the welding, the parameters. Now think of that, how the manufacturing is so much the transdisciplinary, because if you can control the weld parameter, if you can control the weld parameters, you are controlling the microstructure. That means metallurgical people are very much getting influenced by the electrical people, and from this microstructure the ultimate strength of the product is defined, and that is the concern of the mechanical people. So the signal behavior feature gives you a lot of information about the process characteristics. But the concern is that, of course, you need to get the proper signal. You have to suppress the noise. Signal to noise ratio has to be very, very high. So all these features, all these things are there. And we do have some, the real life case studies, which are most of them are filed as a patent, that when you do doing the welding process, surface quality, how it is producing the surface quality, that you can also the evaluate and change the parameters in the real time, so that the image quality is, so the product quality is improved. This is an example for the real time, not only the monitoring, it's a control of the defect for the friction stir welding. That means if the welding process gets done, initially it was having some defect, machine changes its parameter automatically and produces the sound weld. Now here I must tell that this information is purely based on the sensors data. We have not simulated anything. Now we are presently the work, as I mentioned, that the hybrid digital twin with the Tata Consultancy Services, there we are simulating the internal features like the stress strain developed during the welding. So those information are clubbed into the now sensors data, like the force sensors, power sensors, and torque sensors, all these cases, and then we can come up with a hybrid model to control these the weld defects. As I mentioned, that we worked on the defect analysis and correction real time through the image processing and all. If someone is interested, we can discuss at length later on. You are most welcome to contact us. So this is the present activities, how the data is collected from the machine, how the ML model is created, and how the decision is taken place, and how we are creating the digital twin out of the different components of the machine. What we are doing is that, in a process, in a friction stir welding process, we are collecting data constantly. We are analyzing the data on the edge device. And if we find that the sensor's behavior or the sensor's feature is, the deviating from the standard one, then that means something is wrong. We are sending this information to the cloud, where the another ML model is running to check how much is the deviation, and to rectify that deviation, what should be the process parameter. And that information is again giving back to the edge device to give a further check, whatever the prediction made by the ML model running in the cloud, whether that is giving the proper prediction or not. If it is giving the proper prediction, then through the the limiter, it passed through and then sent it to the friction stir welding controller to run that machine in the prescribed format. And at the same time, we are collecting data from the different parts of the machine to get results. Here it's a process going on. The student is sitting at the IIT Mesta, so he is running the machine from there. Now you can see that the machine spindle speed and all. Later on, you'll find that the spindle speed is rotating at a higher speed. You see the lot of crashes getting formed initially, a lot of defects are coming up, and as RPM has increased, you see that the RPM is pretty fast, and the defect free product came up. We filed this as a patent, and this has given us a lot of visibility. Now Tata Consultancy Services looking forward to for its the implementation in the business model. So now we also worked on the big data concept, the large number of data, so large number of the different types of the sensors, and we applied the AI ML model because if the sensor data, the volume of the data increases, the computational complexity will also increase. So there also we need to do the optimization, how to make it reasonably faster with the gross increase in the accuracy. This is a low cost based, the image processing, and this has given us a lot of visibility of our center of excellence. Now, in case of the industry, I understand that some of the industry people are also present here. Now, when they produce the product, they just do the sampling for the quality check. If you Google it, you'll get to know that the welding, spot welding in the in any automobiles, they have got the data from the Audi that out of 1,000 cars, they only check only one car to check the quality of the spot welds. And that particular car is checked by the human being purely by the manual way to to all the spot welded, all the weldings made onto the car. So that means 999 cars are unchecked even in the the company like the Audi. So that means the large number of the products goes unchecked. What the company wants that every product has to be dimensionally accurate. So then only it will ensure the high quality. And at the same time, it has to have the high production rate. Now think of that if a product, if they find out one car which is used for checking, if something goes wrong, that means they are going to discard the entire 999 cars. And if it is accepted, then remaining are also accepted. That means lot of products are, even though they are stamped as the QC quality check, you'll find that the green color sticker is put, the quality check, they are not checked properly. So that means the AI has got a strong role to check the dimensions of this product. And the problem becomes very, very critical for the MSMEs. MSME stands for the micro, small and medium enterprises, because they do not have the quality department. If they cannot ensure their product, then they will miss can't be in the supply chain for the big industries. Their quality has to be very good, then only they can compete in the global market. And in Indian scenario, most of the MSMEs, that is the real concern. That's why they are unable to meet into the global market and all. So a lot of so this problem was given to one of the MSMEs surrounding the IIT, the Kharagpur, and it was given just before the lockdown, I think 2nd or 3rd of February, and we did it in 1.5 months time. Immediately we contacted that MSME, but MSME didn't turn back. So, but we didn't stop. We thought that let me go ahead with this, the solution. So we thought that since the product cost has to be very low, so we use the webcam. Intentionally, we use the webcam to reduce the infrastructural cost. And we know that by using the AI, the method, we can also augment the image quality. So that it's a wheel rim, the leftmost figure is taken by the webcam. You see the poor quality. Just below that, it is image taken by the high quality camera. And we worked on the AI-based image augmentation, the concept, and after several iterations and all, we got almost the improve that image quality almost at par with the quality of image that is taken by the very good camera. Then we did the processing and all, and came up with a the prediction which is 99% accurate. So I'll give you an example, and this has also been filed as a patent, and this is giving a lot of visibility. And based on this work, this has also been done by one of the interns, and based on this work today we got one project for finding the weld defect, AI-based weld defect analysis from a very reputed government defense firm. So you see there's if the products are placed, move from the conveyor belt, everything conveyor belt is also fabricated by us. There is a webcam fitted onto the robot. The webcam captures this image, and then the checks the quality, and robot also checks the pose or the orientation of the the job and orients its gripper accordingly and grip it. So a lot of ML is involved there, not only to check the diamond, the product quality, and also to orient it, the gripper to grip the object properly. This has also been filed as a patent. And this week, the participated in an India-wide competition on India AI, and we became one of the 3 top innovators in the country for this sort of, the work. Today we got that email. So it is also giving a very high, the accuracy and all. So a lot of works are also done on the different types of the job, how to, find out what is the job dimension, what sort of job it is, and how to change, how to orient the gripper to grip it. So we have got accuracy close to 90, the 7%. So you see our operator, the placing the job on the conveyor belt, and it's moving real time. So when it comes close to the robot, so robot camera captures this, webcam captures this image, and it is changing its, the orientation and gives it. It's a rectangular job. Some cases the cylindrical jobs are also produced. So robot gets to know that what is the job there. I think cylindrical job. You see that cylindrical job. Now robot will change its gripper. This is our fixed sensor welding laboratory, industry scale welding. We do have large number of robotic facility, MIG welding, TIG welding, spot welding. If someone is interested, you are most welcome. And then we are also the obstacle, the avoidance, which I've already shown, how the obstacle can be, avoided. We are also developing the digital twin, but this digital twin is based on the data-driven model. So that means what is the health of the electric motor? What is the the condition of the bearings? Yeah, someone is saying something? Okay, I think it's a noise. Yeah, so don't worry. So thing is that the data which we are collecting from the electric motor, we are analyzing that one to check what is the bearing health of that one. So the health of the motor is decided based on the different the algorithms and all. And some cases we have got the 100% accuracy based on the sensors data, power data, and then the vibration data and all. As I mentioned that we are working on the BCI application. I'm sitting in my lab on observing as I mentioned that the job dimension, and it's a classification of the job. So robot understands from my thought that whether I should use the gripper 1 to pick the rectangular job, or whether I should use the gripper 2 to pick the cylindrical job. This is a problem given by the Tata Motors, so we are working on that, how to read the text from the tires and all, because this is also a concern for the automobile industries, work. So we have got, the reasonable, the accuracy. We need to work more on that. Some confusion is there on the identifying the numbers like 1 and English letter I and the G and N. Some confusion is in our model is there, but we'll be working more on into that field. So as I mentioned that the industrial revolution, the drawbacks is that it works on the set of defined parameters. So it is very difficult. I mean, these days models, they do not learn incrementally. So that's why the people are thinking for the cognitive, the manufacturing. Already I've given you a little bit of the introduction, that each and every step I want that the step has to be smarter. So smarter control of the process, smarter product design has to be smarter supply chain management, smarter employee safety, smarter factory operations. When you want to have all these elements or these stages of the manufacturing, the smarter, that means your model, the so-called the intelligent model has to be very much flexible. Flexible means that if some changes in the demand takes place all on a sudden, I should be able to reconfigure the operation strategies to cope up with the demand. It should also, the uncertainties can be the tackling. I should be able to know that what is the need of the customer. If the customer need gets changed, so what sort of changes do I need to make? And at the same time, that we should be able to do very reliably for the unpredictable, the situation. And that is called the cognitive, the architecture. So in case of the cognitive architecture, what we do is that we collect the sensors data. Normal AI model also collects the census data. Normal AI model works on the the data, and they apply the ML model and fit that model for the actuation of the work. But if you think that if a human being is supposed to work, then human being will apply its own cognizance. What is that cognizance? It will try to learn that what is happening from what has happened in the previous data. It will try to reason it that the why this is happening, and from there it will try to modify the model which is going to get to be used. So just mimicking the human cognizance, if we can get the data, and from the data if we can learn, that means during execution it is learning, and during execution also it is updating its model. That model, it is the fed into the cognitive the planner, and that planner can actuate the actions to for the operations and all. So then only you can have the the better the decision. So so just like the I'll give you an example, the how the cognitive model is different from the AI model and all. So, the in an as a classification is that AI model tells you the course of action, the best action it will tell. It can optimize, it can tell you that this is the best solution, but it can't tell that if something happens, what will be the condition. So the cognitive model can decide that what would be the course of action during the execution. It can focus on the reasoning and understanding the way human people thinks. So that understanding is the fed onto the model, intelligent model. Then you can have the human like intelligent model. So the cognitive the language technologies, if I say that it uses the statistical the techniques, but it also make usage of the verbal the situation, or the verbal the knowledge which we the information which we pass on during the conversation, or if something is written on the board, or something is the available on the PDF file, then and there that knowledge has to be used, which is the human operator can do it, but unlike your predefined AI model cannot do it. So these features is very much important to put into the model to make it more. We look at the self-learning robot. That is no program, nothing. So the robot itself image will understand that the how. So if different jobs are there, it will identify that what to pick up that job and what to place. That is programming. That is something is learning. How the different self jobs are used. So different types of the jobs are there, and it is picking up effectively. Uh, so that's why the how the human behavior can be the implement the human thought process, if it can be implemented, then we can have a better the situations in the manufacturing domain, or the AI models used in the manufacturing domain. This I already have explained and all. So I'd like to quickly introduce our Center of Excellence. I was told that it's 1.5 hour. Yeah, it's 5 minutes to go. I would like to introduce our Center of Excellence in Advanced Manufacturing, and it's as already mentioned by your friends Deblina, that it is sponsored by the Department of Heavy Industries, and we also form a consortium of industries and all. So it's purely industry academia research center. We do not talk about very fundamental problems, academic problems here from the beginning. We take up the industrial problems, try to solve it, and we see that what are the problems are there, how to tackle it, if any fundamental problem is there, how to take it forward. So we do have, quite a few industries. You can see that the large number of Tata Group members are there. Public sector private sector organization. We do have the public sector as well. We do have the startup, and this is the 40,000 square feet industrial shed got constructed inside the campus of IIT Kharagpur. And so the vision of this center is to work on the modern concept so that we can bring innovation into the manufacturing systems. We can build ecosystems. You understand that it is very much transdisciplinary, and also it is very much, the industrial oriented problem. So we must work with the industry. We should not work in silos. Like academic people and industry people, they generally move in parallel paths. They never converge. But the time has come to work together. So the ecosystem has to be developed. And for doing that, we need to work with the international collaboration as well. We are also doing that. We are giving training to the industry people on different concepts. And whatever the innovations are we getting generated, that we are filing as a patent with the industry. We are working with 4 thematic areas which grossly covers all the aspects of the manufacturing, the material aspects, automation aspect, additive manufacturing, and industry 4.0. So our faculty members, researchers, interns, they are working on these industrial problems which are given by the original equipment manufacturer and giving solutions to them. We are giving training to the industry people so that they know what are the new things coming up and they can be in the supply chain for the big industries so that they can participate in the bidding process and all. So we would like to work as the catapult center. That means taking up the academic innovations and putting up into the industrial practice. So most of the cases, the academic institutions innovations are restricted in the TRL, technology readiness level, up to 3. And the 7, 8, 9 is that industry's need. So there is a valley, and it is called as the valley of death. But we would like to work in this valley of death zone, because our product, if something is developed in the fundamental level, the main problem is that to upscale it, because they do not have the facility which are of the industrial scale. The problem becomes even more complex when the fundamental the prototype thing is getting converted to the real world dimension product. So but our facilities are all industrial scale, so that gives us a little bit of leverage to tackle the industrial problems. We do have a facility on the hybrid additive manufacturing, which would be able to tackle the job of close to 1 meter length. We're going to have a CT scan. Some of the facilities are already there, some are coming up. So CT scan is going to come up, so which would be able to scan that large size of the job, which would be printed or manufactured by some other means. Large number of CNC facilities are there, material characterizations facility, all are very, very sophisticated and the state of the art. We do have a very good welding facility. If someone is interested, some industry is interested on the welding, we are very much confident in apply the AIML model there. We do have a MIG welding facility. You can see that they are highly sensor integrated. So large number of the data can be gathered during the process, and also to capture the health, we can develop the digital twin. We can also monitor the quality of the weld process. We do have the robotic TIG welding facility, robotic spot welding facility, and we are going to have robotic MIG TIG spot are installed, and robotic laser welding is going to get installed. We do have the job or fixed robotic fixed welding facility. So in our country, so you can do the weld, on like that's going to implement us in the usage process. We do have the foundry robots as well. And the most interesting facility as this vibration facility last time in our country. So for when the the robotic vibration testing facility has been installed, then I switched on my car the engine, and then trying to just check what is the vibration level at the different locations of the car by using the laser vibrometer. Yeah, if someone is interested, we made effective usage of the lockdown period. We came up with a book on digital twin. It has got the signal processing and detailed analysis of the signal processing, image processing, AI/ML models, and the digital twin. Large number of AI/ML models are discussed. A lot of case studies are there in manufacturing, starting from drilling and then turning and then welding and all, even in the the additive manufacturing also. So a lot of case studies are there. So if you're interested, you can download that book and read it. We are organizing the Saturday manufacturing talk. This has started in the month of March, 13th March, 2021. It is it's almost 6 months over. Every Saturday 8:30 p.m. So we invite the speakers from industry, renowned speakers from industry, academia, from India, outside India. So they talk about the one person every Saturday. They talk about the modern concepts or their own understanding or the views, their research. The next week would be on the digital twins. So if someone is interested, you must attend. It's free of charge, no registration. You can attend at any point of time. And we are also having these, the seminars recorded. If you are unable to see it, you can also see the recorded video in the YouTube. And the next week, as I mentioned, the talk would be on the digital twins, and the speaker is the Chief Technology Officer of ANSYS. ANSYS is a big simulation company. Their the Chief Technology Officer is fortunately our alumnus. So I requested him, and he has kindly agreed. So then, and it will be a very wonderful talk, I believe, on the digital twins. Thank you so much. So it's 3 minutes late. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Hello, I'm audible.
Yeah.
So, our salutations to you on this providential sorry of the Engineers' Day. Our heartfelt and wholehearted devotion to you for this charismatic lecture session. Indeed, it's one of the best we ever held. Now, sir, we have collected some of the questions from the enthusiastic learners from the audience section. So, sir, if I have your permission, can I put forward these questions to you so that they get enlightened by your glory?
Yeah, you can do one thing. There may be some similar questions and all. So you just find out the unique questions and you can place this thing. But
yes,
otherwise,
sir, we have a curated one. Like all
excellent.
those fascinating questions. So may I proceed, sir?
Yeah, let me try. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. It's the first question from Aditya Kumar Singh, NIT Durgapur. So the question is, how to build a career in artificial intelligence in India, where we can hardly find any colleges offering higher degree courses on artificial intelligence and robotics.
Now, who says there is hardly any course on artificial intelligence and robotics in India? There are a lot of the institutions are there, the government institutions, the NITs, and then state government, private colleges, state government colleges, national level institutions, IITs. These days, it's artificial intelligence is it's becoming very, very important, and you'll find even the course, specialized course on the data science as well. So you explore. I think if you explore, you'll get to know, and then depending on your academic performance, you may get a chance. Even if you don't get a chance, don't lose the hope. You can develop the skills by yourself as well. So the only thing is that you have to have a positive mindset and the will. If you do have then definitely you go ahead. So you have to start working. If you are really interested, you have to start working.
Of course, sir. So then we have Debayan Pal from Amity University, Kolkata. The question is, how has the use of artificial intelligence changed the business industry over the last decade or so?
You see, the people are, as of now, the Indian industries are very few. They have deployed the concept. Okay, so it's the industry 4.0 concept is the coming up, because if you want to use it properly, then the entire the infrastructure, that also needs to be modified or the change. So few companies like the GE, like the Siemens, they are basically the multinational company. So they have started using it. GE has used a lot to a large extent on in developing the digital twin model and all. And but apart from that, other industries are the adopting the concept. And some of the industries which are already coming up as new, then those industries are thinking from the beginning. They are thinking of the industry 4.0 concept. So the its thing is that it's just like you need to find out that what is your concern and what information you want from your system itself. Then accordingly you have to think of your own industry 4.0 model. It may be difficult to come up with the complete industry 4.0 model that I have mentioned, that the supply chain starting from the product design to the customer's end. It's very difficult to develop a digital thread, but at least unit wise or a system wise you can optimize your process. As I mentioned that we have done the fixed sensor welding, the process optimization real time. So how the defect can be removed. Now, these concepts can be deployed in the industry. Industry has to come forward. Industry is also, discussing or working with the various academic institutes. We do have large industry connect. So we are discussing almost on a daily basis and trying to understand their problems, and then trying to solve. That's why I told, so previously they used to move in parallel path, academic and then industry. Now they are, the merging. If you merge, then there will be a strong bonding, and because this merging is very much needed to disseminate the knowledge from one end to the other end, and otherwise you will not be able to do. So the business perspective, directly answering to the question, is that it's a huge impact. If you can predict the failure, obviously that will reduce the cost of the production. If you can predict the downtime of the machine, if you can predict what would be the useful life of that product, how long it is going to sustain, if you can see that the design which you have developed, what could be the difficulties before developing that, before fabricating that one through digital twin, so that will give you the more better presence in the market. The business should be totally changed. Please, Lisa, you need to mute the mic. So
yes, sir.
Yeah. So the
some
business,
noises.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. You can continue.
Yeah, the business will be heavily impacted if the properly the AI, the industry 4.0 modules or the concepts are implemented. Yes. Yes, any more question? Hello.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Now I will ask from the open forum on the board. If anyone have any queries, please proceed with. Hello.
Yes.
No, sir. Then I should continue with our curated questions. Those selected from, it's all selected from the audience over here.
Yeah,
So the next question is from Rohit Viswas. He's from BHU. The question goes as, can we make artificial intelligence think about the solutions of questions that has not been answered by physics till now?
You see, I don't have the answer of all these things. I am not an artificial intelligent, the man. If I give you this answer, it will be very, very philosophical answer. So, if a question is if something is not yet discovered, whether the AI would be able to be discovered, able to discover or not, that depends on the how the AI model is learning out of that, the system. Yeah. So how the
Okay.
AI, how the AI model is learning out of that system. So it all depends on that.
So our next question is from Avijit Singh. He's from Raja Bazar Science College. How to explore this artificial intelligence field in future after completion of BTech or any other ungraduated degree?
What is that? The future of artificial, future as a of considering AI as a career. What is the question? Can you repeat once again? Can you repeat that question once again?
Okay, sir. Few minutes, please. Yeah. How to explore this artificial intelligence field in future or after completion of BTech degree or any other ungraduated degree?
Yeah, you see the even though you do not have the background on the AI during your BTech course, it doesn't matter what form you are graduating and all. As I mentioned that you have to have a positive mindset and you have to have a will to learn. And there is no harm in, even though you do not want to consider this as your future career, it doesn't matter. You just, if today you are having the interest, you learn it. And the entire world is telling that it has got a huge tremendous potential in different fields, not only in the manufacturing, in the finance sector, the other business sectors and all. So even the healthcare, the division. So it has got a tremendous potential. So it all depends on you. How would you like to have your career? Future always will be bright if you work hard, and it doesn't matter which field you are working. There would be some little bit of changes or the possibility of getting jobs and all. I understand that your concern is that whether will I get a job, better job, if I pursue my career using artificial intelligence, whether I'll be totally the dumped if I do not pursue my career is the non-AI field. It is absolutely not like that. Every field has got its own importance, and but thing is that you need to work hard. So those who are having a concern like what will be the fate in taking up the AI as the career, I must say that you just go ahead. Just go ahead, because a lot of interns are there, working with me from different institutes. Some of them are, some of them are not interested in the AI, the domain. They are more on the fundamental, the problem solution, like the finite element simulation problems and all. And some of them are interested, from day one they are working on the ML models, Python, writing code. Even I heard, which is very dangerous thing, that in the school syllabus, the people are the people are taught about the AI thing, like the barcode reader, the image processing, how the letter and the image, how the letter is, they coded, and how they are imaged, how they are processed. Those things are taught in the school level, which is a dangerous thing. So I don't think that is so much of need is required at this stage. If you have got a positive mindset and will, you can just learn at any stage of your life and then implement things. But as since most of you are student, I must tell that at this stage you must clear your fundamentals first, engineering fundamentals. That would be my message on the engineering day. Not AI, your fundamentals, domain knowledge is very much required. Think of that, the data model, think of the physics model. If your fundamental is not clear, then you will not be able to correlate with the data. You will not process on the data. You will not be able to do the simulation and understand what's going on. So that your understanding about the basic engineering subject is very much required than your understanding learning AI model.
Okay, sir. The next one is from Rohan Ghosh, Chandigarh University. how brain mapping and image processing will revolutionize the artificial intelligence world?
Yeah, it's a good question, but thing is that the signal which we get from the sensors, like the force sensors, torque sensor, pressure, and all these things, they are they are very relatively easier to they characterize or correlated with the process. Now, when you capture the brain signal, EEG signal, then what happens is the brain is having so many parallel activities. So concern is that, when I'm observing to a rectangular object, that the signal signal is captured, how to know that signal? If you do any processing, let's say the time domain analysis, you are finding out the kurtosis or the root mean square of the feature. How that RMS or the kurtosis is correlated with the my own observations on the rectangular job. Is it because of that observation, or it is because of something else, some other thought process, because brain can do the parallel processing? So that's the concern. So it's very, very critical. Even you can see the success rate of the image processing on the other, the any job or any defect analysis is pretty high. It's a close to 100%, 97, 98. Some cases fuse box, there's a 100% success rate. But whereas in brain signal, even the observing the rectangular job or cylindrical job, it is much low as of now. But we worked on the very single electrode, the EEG signal. If you work on the more sophisticated, the EEG headset, which can capture large number of, the having large number of sensors, capture the more and more information, your data quality would be better. Because this the EEG signal data is very prone to adopt the noises. Noises means the signals which are coming out of the various activities of the brains or from the different, the parts of the brain. So it has got a hope, but as of now, we need to work. Quite a long, the period to get it more structured, coordinated, so that it can be really implementable for the industries.
Thank you, sir. The next one is from Tushar, NIT Durgapur. Okay. It is probable to completely computerize the marine vessels that are using artificial intelligence can detection of waves and bad weathers in sea and having a self-operated maneuvering system.
You see, we do have the self-driving car. We do have now the drones. So a few days back, people thought that the self-driving car, and even the drones, people could not imagine. So now, thinking of when the self-driving car is there, so there are also a lot of, the predictions, surroundings that you can call is the road weather, the traffic and all, dynamic situation, everything is dynamic. So predicting the behavior of the condition, road condition, still the people are able to develop the self-driving car. So it may happen that in near future, people have not yet tackled the in case of the marine situation and all, it may happen that it will come up, because there also you need to predict the tides, and then let's say the various types of the climatic situations and all. If you can have the proper prediction, why not? Because these days, the climatic prediction is quite good. Even whatever the message we get, that tomorrow there will be a torrential rain from this time to that time, you can also see in your mobile and all. So the prediction we find is quite the reasonably good. So if the prediction is good, then why not the rest of the thing is already developed? There is a maneuvering of the vehicle based on the dynamic, the situations.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question from Amritendu Acharji, Government College of Engineering and Textiles Technology from Behrampur. What is the correct way to implement this in order to ensure that this modernize the manufacturing units without putting in question the livelihood of the workers?
I didn't get that one. What is that question? What do you mean? Can you Can you ask the the person who has raised these questions to elaborate?
Okay, I just ask in the audience, Amritendu Acharji, are you present? Hello? Amritendu Acharji?
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Good
please
evening, sir.
explain, sir, your
Yeah.
question.
Actually, sir, I want most of the people have this notion that if AI comes in the factory, then the jobs of the worker might be in risk.
Oh,
So,
okay. Job risk. Yeah. So, okay, fine. Yeah. Good question. The thing is that, the answer is yes. Yes, in one sense. In what sense, I'll tell you. That today, if you think of the MSME sector or the Indian sector, the large number of the labor, human, presence is there. Okay, so it's not very much automated. It's a manual, the operations and all. Now, if I automate the process, if I make it more intelligent, then there will be a couple of the labor. But in order to compete with the level of accuracy that you want, you have to go for this automation aspect itself. That is inevitable. You have to use the robots in some day or the other. You have to use for the AIML concept, image processing methods. You have to leverage it. So the people, but at the same time, when you engage more and more automation in it, you would be needing more and more manpower for for repairing or for operating those machines as well. So the manpower requirement would be there, but they would be required at a different level. They would be needing the STEM knowledge, science, technology, and engineering, mathematics. So the person's requirement, total manpower requirement, if you see, it will not reduce a lot. You see that today's the toy manufacturing companies and all, lots of people are engaged, in a household, the activities thing. So there is a survey from the Oxford University that out of, if I can remember properly, out of out of one robot, there would be the 3 or 4 human operators, human, the being needed for its maintenance, for its, the manufacturing as well. So the situation will be there when the robot can manufacture a robot and robot can repair the problem of the robot, then the question will be there will be the real, the shortage of the real, the job cut and all. But people requirement will not be less as a whole, but at the same time, the people needs to be enriched with the knowledge of science, technology, and engineering, mathematics. They need to understand what is the data it is generated. They need to understand how to do the processing. They need to understand how to analyze the data. If they cannot do, then it's very difficult.
Sir, our heartfelt gratitude to you for such a precious time of yours. We are really enkindled. And now I'm going to hand over this session to MD Nasir.
Good evening,
Hello,
sir.
Nasir.
Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Really, this was a great learning session, and we have prepared one token of appreciation for you that I am presenting. Is it visible?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Sir, we thank you for your participation and wish you all the best for your future. And we hope for more learning opportunities from you, and especially research supports to our interested students, as you have already said. And on behalf of all students, alumni, interaction cell members, and all students fraternity, NIT Durgapur, thank you once again, sir.
Yeah, I'm really honored and privileged because I like that one. I told your sir Shivendu, because Shivendu is our student, our scholar. I told that I need at least 1.5 hour time, because 1 hour time is very short to cover this topic and all. And unless I give you the complete feel that what are the case studies made, then you will not be able to take it properly and then use it in your the actual the applications and all. So what I would suggest is that if any one of you is interested on the AIML activities, image processing activities, having some background on the Python, having some background on the AIML, writing codes and all, do write to us. And but you have to be very, very sincere, because we are our, the scholars who are engaged in this, the activities, they're very serious. Even the interns are also very serious. We do every week we do meeting with the interns. So please, you may write to us, and then we can work together. And you'll also enjoy that your model is, the working in the industry. So that's a, true sense industry academia collaborative, the research. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you so much for your time and also ND Chas in this particular field. I think through this interaction, our student, faculties, and other participants will get to benefit through the future interaction and collaboration. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir, for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm disconnecting now.
Good night, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All attendees, please